Hi, everyone. This is Gary Wilson, and welcome to this week's live webinar broadcast for the Path to Profit system. We've got folks on, of course, mostly from the Investor Agent Training Program, because that's been the big thrust this last year, so we can help you guys get more cash flow coming in via commissions and valuable knowledge gain by being in the field, being in the game, swinging the bat with investors. So welcome aboard for all the new folks. A couple of admin things here. When you first log in, if you could shoot me a quick message in your question box and just say, "Hi Gary, I'm here. Let me know that you're here." And let me know that you can see my screen and hear my voice. So far, everybody is okay. Every now and then someone's computer will, their sound will be interrupted. And what we discovered is usually it's because they have a lot of programs running at the same time. And that will impede your sound system. Every now and then we have a blip on our end, but we're pretty high tech here. I know I'm getting full Wi-Fi coverage here at this hotel. I always pay extra for that no matter where I am. I also have a headset with a boom and a mic, and everything seems to always be checking out there. So in any case, be ready to take notes. In most cases, everything that you'll ask will be typed in, because those get cataloged and recorded. And every now and then I will unmute one or two or more of you during a call, and we'll have a live conversation that everybody can participate in. Okay. Now, for those of you who are new this month, I really highly recommend you go back to the prior recordings beginning the week between Christmas and New Year's. I believe that was Tuesday, December 29th, and listen to those recordings. You can find them on the website. You have access to them, and you can listen to them anytime you want. 24/7 forever. So and the reason is I went through the initial material in the training program in a certain order. I didn't get all the way through all the modules. I just got through module 2, which is very important, because when you get to module 4, you'll be able to hit the ground running. Okay. Now, tonight's subject matter has to do mostly with foreclosures, and depending on how we do at the end, I've got a few more websites to give you guys that will help you do some valuable research, and I got some really good news for you for one of those. Okay, I'll save it to the end. The bottom line is this: we're gonna purchase access to a system that allows us to make available to you, our clients, our students, for free. We pay for it, and you don't have to pay for it, and you get access because we're paying for it. I'll explain more about that later. So in any case, tonight's subject matter has to do with foreclosures. How do you actually work with the foreclosures, the banks that have foreclosures when you're purchasing properties? Some of you may be interested in being listing agents for these banks. I don't really recommend that, to be honest with you. I used to do it. Very hard work for very little pay, although you get a lot of inventory, for your investors. So we're going to talk about that tonight, okay? And I'm going to give you a lot of tips and pointers you can use when you're making offers on bank-owned properties. Okay. Now, first and foremost is this: I don't have the database with me here on my laptop. On my desktop computer, which is sitting in Virginia right now, essentially packed away, is a spreadsheet of all of the asset managers in the continental U.S. Okay, there is some representation in there for the Canadian folks, but a lot of the companies don't go across borders, both ways, that is. And Canada historically didn't have the foreclosure problem the States did, although they do have foreclosures. In fact, I researched them, and last year they had a lot more than they had in prior years. And now, of course, Canada, for those of you who are in Canada, I'll be up there this weekend, and the week after KW Family Reunion. You guys are well into a recovery. In fact, Kevin O'Leary from Dragon's Den in Canada and Shark Tank in the U.S. posted I guess it was a tweet or something online saying, "Don't buy properties in Canada." Well, I love hearing stuff like that, because that's like my green light. Go buy properties in Canada. Okay, because it's just like Warren Buffett said, when everybody's going left, you go right. So when prices are dropping, those are tremendous opportunities. I think we've got a ways to go here, guys. I'm personally not going to buy anything in Canada till the end of the year, but you better believe I'm going to be buying some stuff up there. Okay. So in any case, back to what I was talking about. When you're working with the banks on purchasing foreclosures, and many of you have noticed over the years, it can be very competitive and very stressful. and I'm going to help you overcome competition, overcome some stress here tonight. And the first and foremost is to remind you, there actually is a technique for you to get listings from small local banks that we talk about. I give it for free in the class that I teach for free before you've all signed up for the training program. So if you remember banktracker.com, and actually let me just go ahead and do this. I will see if I can bring it up here. Hang on one second. I should have it down here in my favorites somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. Well, let's just do this. Bank, there it is. Okay, so here's the URL right there. banktracker.investigativereportingworkshop.org. And I'm going to give you guys a second to write that down. I know on the webinar you can't cut and paste. If you have a screen capture, let the software, usually you can get it for free. You can do a screenshot of your computer right now that shows my screen and shows this URL. So it's banktracker.investigativereportingworkshop.org. So let's click on that. It'll still be up in the URL, so don't worry. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to demonstrate how to use this. It is really quite simple. Okay. Let's see if I can find my, whoops, sorry, I went the wrong way. Investigations, let's click on that. So everybody take a second, write down this, click on investigations. Let's do that. Okay. Actually, maybe that's not, we just did this the other week too. Here I am drawing a blank here. Hang on one second, guys. Let me go back. I wasn't going to get into this tonight anyways, but let's go back to home and type search item. I don't think that's what we want. There should be well, you know what? Let me just type a bank up here. First Commonwealth Bank. Whoops. That's not what I want to do. Tell you what, guys, let me get into the subject matter tonight. I'll bring this up from the workbook because that has the actual full-blown link in there, okay? So hang on one second. Let me get back here to what I was talking about. It is here, all right? So in any case, back to if you want to find foreclosure listings for your clients, okay, and you don't want to compete with everybody else out there, you don't want to work for the big asset managers. I learned over the years I did not like working with the big asset managers, okay? It took way too much time. They didn't really pay all that well because they took 25% of what I made. And the other thing too is this: they were just plain difficult to work with. Every day I was getting more phone calls. Go get more. Go get more pictures. Go fill out more reports. And I was busy with my clients. I was making decent money. I didn't need those guys. Okay. Oops. Hang on one second here. I think the link is in here. Yep, here it is. Oh, that's what I should have clicked on. Investigative Reporting Workshop.org/banks. Let me go back here. And go back here. Bank Tracker /banks. And that should be it right here. Okay, here we go, guys. Here's the screen. So it's Bank Tracker Investigative Reporting Workshop.org/banks. Here's where you type in your bank. And we did this last month. We typed in several banks around the country. I'm just going to show you one so you see how it works. Okay. First Commonwealth Bank. Let's click on Submit. And we want the one that's headquartered in Indiana, PA, Pennsylvania. And there you go. You can see even as of September of 2015, which was a quarter ago, this bank still has foreclosures. Greater than 5% of their foreclosures, about 6% or 6% of their loans are in foreclosure. So you find out in your area, type in any bank you want, okay, on this search line, any bank you want, and you can see how they're doing on their loans, okay? Let's see if this will work, because I got the properties from these guys too. No results found. Let's get rid of that. I actually have this in my presentation. There it is, headquartered Portsmouth, Virginia. You can see, guess what? For those of you who are in Virginia right now, go to Town Bank because they got about 8% of their mortgages in foreclosure. And what you're going to see is this trend line is going to continue to increase throughout the year. So in any case, what I highly recommend you do is go visit these banks and offer your services. Remember what I talked about in class. Go in with a humble attitude, okay, but prepared and professional. And half the time you'll get yeses, half the time you get no's, but I like to focus on the yeses. So in any case, that's one way to get foreclosures for your clients and not have to deal with the asset managers and all their crazy forms. All right. I want to give you that as an extra little tidbit here. Now let's get into where I really wanted to get into. Margaret wanted me to provide some examples. Okay. So here's an example of a foreclosure, foreclosure listing from one of our MLS systems around the country, around North America, There's only about 4 different software systems that all of the different real estate boards use. Okay. MLS is the most popular, so wherever you are, if your board is using MLS, they actually have that name secured. You will see something like BostonMassMLS.com, something like that. Okay, so I can't remember exactly where this one came from, but what I wanted to point out is this. Most listings have similar information, and let's go look at some of this information that would help you determine how do you search these guys out. Here's a HUD listing, and if you notice up in here, there's remarks that you show to the general consumer, okay, and then there's agent remarks. Now the rules have changed over the years. It used to be the MLS systems were telling us in the remarks you had to say somewhere in there this is a foreclosure. And of course, they got a lot of pressure put on them to not make that a requirement, okay, because the banks didn't want everybody coming in and lowballing them because they knew they had a foreclosure. However, in the remarks section, clearly this is identified as a foreclosure. It's a HUD one. I can tell because right away it says case number. And I used to have an account with HUD. I ended up canceling it because, again, I work like a dog and didn't like it. But HUD listings always start off with a case number there. Even if it's not HUD, what you'll generally find in the remarks section are the following keywords. So make sure you guys have your pens and pencil handy. I'm going to give you the keywords that you want to search for. So, by the way, what I mean by that is on any MLS system, you can search for certain words or phrases and wherever there's free form text. Agent remarks, consumer remarks are all considered free form text. So what you can do is on your when you're searching the MLS and you're building your search criteria, there's always a bar that says add fields. So if you don't see remarks or agent remarks currently displayed, click on add fields, and you can add to your display where you're typing in your criteria either of these fields or both of them if you want. And the reason is this. What you're going to do is type in what you're searching for, okay, in that bar where you fill in your free form text of what your criteria is. You're going to put the following phrases in there. Number 1 is REO. Put REO, followed by a comma. Comma is always your delimiter. Followed by a space, okay. Followed by bank, the word bank. Another comma, another space. Then you can put bank owned, so you're going to go from a key word to a key phrase. Another comma. Each one of these, again, is going to be separated by a comma and a space. Another one would be the word foreclosure. Okay. Another one could be corp, C-O-R-P, or corporate, the full word spelled out, or the phrase corporate owned. Okay. You could and should actually even type in the following. Type in FNMA for Fannie Mae. Of course, type in HUD, H-U-D. You can type in VA, okay? You can type in, Freddie Mac, literally spelled out. Yeah, matter of fact, Fannie Mae, you should spell it out too as a phrase, F-A-N-N-I-E space M-A-E. think of all the possible variations you can and type all those in as search words and search phrases. Okay. Trying to think of some of those home steps. I mean, there's a number of them out there. Excuse me. Okay. So you're going to put that in your search bar. Now, when you do your criteria, you want to make sure it's set up so that you're looking for this or that. In other words, you're not looking for all of these words to match exactly. You're just looking for any listing that has somewhere in the remarks one of those keywords or one of those key phrases. Okay. There's a number of them. By the way, I'll give you a little bit of a hint here. Also type in these words. Type in estate. Okay. And again, separated by a comma and space. Also put in POA. POA means power of attorney, because you want to look for properties that are being sold, their estates, where somebody had passed away and now the heirs are selling the property. Those also make very good deals. There's not as many of them as there are foreclosures, but they're out there. Okay, that's the remarks field. Now, if you go down to the ownership field, you can see this one clearly is identified as a HUD-owned property. And by the way, HUD means you and I. It's U.S. citizens. If you're U.S., that is, technically you own the properties. Which brings me to a very interesting point. If you're looking for properties to advertise to drum up buyers, this is another technique we teach in Module 4. HUD listings are considered open listings, which means any agent in the MLS can advertise any property that's a HUD property. Doesn't matter what broker has the listing, any agent can advertise that listing. It's called an open listing. And the reason it's open is HUD puts it right in their contract, number one. But number two, the reason is because they're owned by the public. They're owned by U.S. citizens. Right? HUD is a government agency, Housing Urban Development, and those properties were taken over because the mortgages were backed by the U.S. government in some way, shape, or form. Okay. In matter of fact, there was a period of time when HUD actually directly got into underwriting, basically securing or backing the mortgages directly. That's partly why they're in here. Mostly it's because of insurance. So in any case, under owner, you would put HUD, comma, space. This is, you can fill in the ownership types, VA, FHA, FNMA. Okay, there's even Freddie Mac, and now even the USDA several years ago came out with loan programs. How about that? USDA is making loans. Always makes me laugh. So in any case, by the way, you could also put in here keywords executor, executrix, okay, POA, again, estate, all under owner, all right? So you're trying to capture as many of these bank foreclosure listings as possible and estate properties as possible. Now, some MLS systems around the country have the field of, that you actually have to click yes or no. Is this a foreclosure or a short sale? Okay. And I don't think that is on this one here. I don't see it. Let me see. Contact owner. Nope. Let's see. Tenant occupied, taxes. Construction sewer. Yeah, this is an older version here. So the newer versions, you have to identify. Let's see if it's up here. School district, public transportation, home warranty. Yeah, I don't see it on this particular version here. So in any case, that's one way to find the properties, right? Now let's get into what happens. Let's say you found the property and you're going to be making an offer. This is where I want you guys to really pay attention and take notes, okay? And again, you'll get the recording the next day. So if you're like some people who like to listen now, and you can take notes tomorrow on the recording, by all means, help yourself. But the first thing is let's talk about the offer, okay? So when you make an offer on a foreclosure property, I'll just tell you right out of the gate, your best shot is to always make a cash offer, okay? If you have buyers who have to get a loan, it's going to make your offer not as competitive as those who are offering cash. Now, there is a qualification there. When it comes to the properties that have been taken over by the quasi-government agencies, like Fannie Mae, all those, VA, HUD, they typically will make the property available only to owner occupants for a period of time. Could be 2 weeks, could be 30 days. And then if an owner occupant doesn't buy the property, then it's open to investors, okay? That's where this becomes important, because in the owner-occupant period, your investor could try to BS people, but I would not get involved with that if I was you guys. If you're aware of it, don't do it. It's not, your license isn't worth taking a risk. However, when it moves past that period, okay, and now it's open to all bidders, including investors, competing against other investors, the best way you're going to compete is making a cash offer. Now, you've got to verify your investors have the funds to be able to make a cash offer. If you're making offers that are contingent upon financing, it's going to hurt your chances. Okay, it's just the law of the jungle. Now, when inventory picks up, I can tell you this was what it was like back in, probably even before the recession hit. There were a lot of foreclosures out there going back to 2002, 2003, and we literally could almost buy anything we want, and there was never almost, it was a rarity to have multiple offers. Okay, in most cases, you work directly with the bank through your agent, through negotiating. But in any case, what happened is everybody started jumping into the game, because everybody watching, Carlton Sheets at 5 o'clock in the morning says, I'm going to be an investor and I'm going to buy foreclosures. And they make it very competitive for everybody else who's a veteran investor. That's why you make a cash offer. Okay, so make a cash offer if at all possible for your investors. And also in the offer, do not elect all these other contingencies. Don't elect inspections. Don't elect loan contingencies. Don't even elect appraisal contingency. So what you're going to do is your investor is going to have to look at this property first before they make the offer. They've got to resolve themselves to the fact that that building is worth buying and it's as is condition. Okay, because most of the banks, the bigger ones certainly, are all going to have in their addendums to take away all of your clients' rights. They're going to have language like, as is, where is. Okay. And if you want to elect an inspection, they're going to tell you, get the inspection done first before you make your offer. Okay. And yep, that's exactly what I used to do. Sometimes I would pay an inspector, sometimes I wouldn't, depending on the circumstances. Sometimes I would just bring a plumber with me, or an HVAC guy, okay, or an electrician. If I was uncertain of something, I would go in and look at the property, make my notes, determine what things are going to cost to repair or remodel. And if I was uncertain, then I would bring in an expert like a plumber or an HVAC guy or a roofer, that kind of thing. Okay. So in any case, no inspections. Always have your clients absolutely look at the property first before they make the offer. I know there's people out there. I get it. I see it and I hear it all the time. Higger and my clients, sometimes they're not in the area. They just tell me, just make the offer. Just tie it up, make the offer, tie it up, and then we'll go look at it later. I can tell you it's going to catch up to them, because the banks, number one, they want cash offers. Number two is they don't want any inspections. They're going to want to make sure, they'll even tell you in their disclosure that you have resolved yourself to the condition of the property and you've already done your inspection, whatever the case is. In any case, moving along here, no loan contingencies. So make sure investors know if they want to have the best shot of getting the best deal, they need to buy these properties with, again, cash and no loan contingency. All right, if they change their gears halfway through the deal, whatever bank you're working with is going to kill that transaction. I mean, flat out, just blot it out. Okay. You also obviously do not want an appraisal contingency. Okay. Again, you and or your client should be familiar enough with the area to know what values are. Okay. Now, let's say you do have clients. Let's just go here. When it comes to the actual price that you're offering, how far off of list price can you go? And the answer is it depends. It depends on where you are in North America, what city or town. Some places are a lot more competitive than others. Some places have more bank inventory than others. But as a general rule, I would always go 20% off list price right out of the gate, sometimes 25% off list price. But again, I'm making a cash offer. I've already seen the property. All right. And this is in an area where maybe inventory is a little bit looser. So if you're in an area that's extremely tight, you can't go down that far off of list price. Okay. Now remember, the reason we're able to make such good offers is because of how we go through and determine which properties we're going to make offers on. When you get to module 2, you'll understand what I mean. We have you go through a certain sequence of steps. when you're looking at properties, or in this case, your clients, because you're going to show them how to do this. Okay, you separate the wheat from the chaff, and it takes about 3 rotations or 4 rotations through the listings to do it. So you're going to basically cycle through all the listings and eliminate, either by comparing one listing with another one, keep the best one, or just use the rules. The way we teach them is based on the condition of the property and the finances for the area. Okay. So in any case, in a tight inventory market, okay, which is in most cases what you're experiencing, in some parts of Georgia, we've got some folks on here from Georgia. Your inventory is actually a little bit looser than some other areas. Also the Carolinas, by the way. So Georgia, the Carolinas, certainly in Texas, and even parts of Florida. But almost everywhere else you go, I mean, you go to the major metropolitan areas of California, the Bay Area, San Francisco, or LA, it's tight. Okay, and you can't go down 20%. So what I recommend in those areas is go down no more than 10% off of list price on your initial offer. Now again, if it's assuming you've done all your homework in advance on your computer, okay, before you ever got in a car to go look at properties with your client. And then when you look at those, you're only looking at the best of the best. Doesn't mean they're the most expensive. It just means it has the highest probability of making a good investment. And you make your offer on only those properties, the best of the best. So you can go down maybe only 10% off of list price. Okay, and then we're going to get into negotiating here in a minute. So just hold on to your seats. Now, that's a general rule of thumb for tight inventory market versus a loose inventory market, as far as how far off a list price do you go. And if you ever find yourself working with somebody and they keep saying, just make half price, just make it half price, you're just wasting your time. They're being unrealistic. If everybody's done their homework correctly, they should only be looking at the best of the best already. Okay. By the way, one more clause I need to warn you about is called the and/or assigns clause, the assigns clause. And a lot of investors are saying, put this in every single offer, okay? Because they may want to decide to sell that contract later on, or they may want to decide to put the property in an LLC. Excuse me, that's all well and good. But the challenge is the banks don't want to see that. So when you're making a foreclosure, an offer on a foreclosure, you have to tell your clients the bank's not going to allow and/or assigns. Okay, so you need to strike that. And by where that goes, excuse me, by the way, is on the first page when you're naming the parties, the buyer and the seller. On the buyer, typically you'll say Jane Doe, comma, and/or assigns. That's what I'm talking about. And the banks do not want to see that. Okay. Now, when I say banks, I'm generally referring to the big banks right now. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, PNC, you name it. Those guys have asset management departments working for them, and they have lawyers on staff. Okay, the smaller banks, you're not going to get into this much trouble. It's not going to be as complex with the small banks. We'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, now let's talk about pricing tactics. In other words, pricing tactics in your offer. What do you actually offer? What should it look like? How do you make it look more appealing? So here's some tips on that. So make sure you have your pens and pencils ready, or pens or pencils and paper. Okay. First thing is this: never just offer $90,000. Let's say you got a $100,000 listing. It's owned by a bank, and your client determined that they can offer $90,000. You don't offer $90,000. You might offer $89,763 or $91,137. The bottom line is when you offer an odd amount there, typically because you're going in lower than list price, it's going to catch your attention because you're going to look at the price and say, oh, that's lower than we want. And they're going to look at it and say, wait a minute, that's a weird figure. Why does this say, $89,763.13? Okay, well, there's good reason for that. We'll get into that here in a second. Here's what's going to happen. No matter what you offer, every bank in the world is never going to accept your first offer. Okay, if they do, it's very, very rare. I've actually had it happen, but maybe 1% of the time. Typically, they're going to counter offer your offer, and here's what they're going to do. They're going to go down like just $1,000. That's it. So let's say you're offering, $89,000. and the property is listed at 100,000 or 99,000, they'll go down typically 1,000 in this case to 98,000. Now what I do is I wait to the very end. The response period, typically they'll tell you got 24 hours to respond or 48 hours. By default, you just look at your state law. In most cases, it's going to tell you either 24 or 48 hours to respond to any offer or counteroffer. Okay, that's sort of like the professional courtesy of the obligation. In any case, whatever that time frame is, if I offered 89,123 on a $99,000 listing, and they come back at 98,000, in other words, just coming down 1,000, I will only go up 1,000. Okay, so make sure you write that down. You only counter their counter by going up another 1,000. You never go the full, whatever, leave a lot of room on the table. You're basically matching and mirroring them is what you're doing. You're just doing it through the offer, matching and mirroring. Okay, so make it an odd amount. When they respond, they typically go down only 1,000. You just go up. You match them, go up only 1,000. Okay, the bottom line is this: you want to try to get them to a third round. So let's say you do that. They've countered you at 98. Now you go back and say, you know what? I'll give you $90,571. Okay, for the property. You're going to look at it and think, what is this weird offer? Why don't you just make it 91,000 or 92,000? They don't understand negotiating. That's why they're asking a question. So you just don't. If they ask you that, you don't have to provide an answer. All right. In any case, let's say you get to the third round. Okay, and when you get a bank to the third round, that means they're very interested in your buyer and your offer because they didn't tell you to go to get out of there. All right. So at this point, I would push them, and the way I would do it is this: instead of going up another 1,000, I've got them in a third round. I will go up. A lot of this depends on where your actual number is that you can't exceed. But let's say you've got room to spare. Let's say the thing came in at being worth well more than 100,000. All right, and you're now into the low 90s, 91, 92,000. They haven't budged, but they've been countering. What I would do at the third round is go up a little bit more. Don't just go up 1,000. Go up 2,000 or 3,000. In other words, go up 2% or 3%. And then here's another trick you can use. Let's say you do that and you have not yet used the odd amount tactic. In other words, every offer you made was 88,000, then 89,000, and they're matching you at the 100,000 level. What you do is on that third round, if you haven't used that part of the tactic yet, counter with them, say, okay, I'm going to go up a few thousand. I'll go up 2,000 and add an oddball figure then. Okay? And likely they're going to call you and they're going to say, what is this with this oddball figure? Then you can give them some personal story. You can say, you know what? It has to do with my daughter, my son, whatever the case is. You can do that. What I do is this. I say, you know what? It's actually based on numbers. It's based on research. It's based on analysis. This is exactly what this property is worth, and this is why my client made this exact precise offer. So what you're doing is you're pushing them at this point. You're getting a little bit pushy. You're going up. You're showing that you're willing to negotiate in good faith. You're going up a few thousand. Okay, it looks legit because you did your homework or your client did. It's an oddball figure. All right, and the good news is this: greater than 2/3 of the time, at this point, they're going to say, okay, they'll say yes. Now, when that happens, you got to produce a photocopy of the Hammoney check like ASAP in a fully revised document, fully revised sales agreement with all the changes in there, okay? And also, you got to get that Hammoney check from your client and put it in your broker's escrow like within 24 hours. So you don't fool around with that kind of stuff, all right? So in any case, that's the third round of negotiating, and that's a little trick there. But what I want to do now is go into what happens if there are multiple offers. So let me see a show of hands here. Let me check the question box. I apologize, I haven't done that yet. Let's see. Scott. Hey, Scott. How you doing, buddy? Yep. Go Abundance. That's right. That's where I am, and you'll be here next year. Okay, let's see if we have any questions here. This is Marina. Marina says it's right in the middle of the two fields you mentioned. Oh, okay. So we've already gotten that far. So no new questions yet. Let's keep on going here then, because if we can wrap up a minute early, that would really be nice. And usually, I know last week, I apologize, guys. I think we went on for an hour and a half. And I don't mind as long as you guys are okay with that. I promise we won't do that tonight because we're going to focus on this one subject. Okay, back to what I was describing. So let's say you go through this, you get to the second round, you get to the third round, or even on the first round, the listing agent writes back and says we're in a multiple offer scenario. It's called highest and best. They typically will provide a disclosure. It's called a highest and best for the disclosure. All right, that lets you know that there are other competing bids on the property. Now, I've had agents ask me this before. How do we know they're legit? Do they really have other offers? Well, I can tell you this: if they use that, okay, and they don't have other offers, all right, they could be audited from the state, and if it comes back that they did not, if they can't produce multiple offers, and yet they put that disclosure out there to drive up prices, they will lose their license. It's not even there's no trial, there's no judge, there's no jury. It's just there's an investigation and a slam dunk. That is that serious. So I know as a listing broker myself, when I had all these contracts, I would never do that. So when people ask me, I can tell you from experience, that would be foolhardy because you're making good money. Why would you put that at risk for any one individual transaction? And the banks never pressed us to do that, by the way. The banks never pressured us saying, hey, just tell them there's multiple offers. We never heard that ever from any of them. So rest assured, if you get the highest and best notification, especially with a bank listing, it's legit. That's my personal opinion. So let's say that happens, okay? What do? Now you got competing offers. There's no way you're going to know what those other offers are. I know some of you will say, hey, well, I know this broker, and he probably would give me a little tip, a little nod, a little wink, whatever. Again, I don't know any broker alive that would risk his license and risk his agreement with the asset manager to do something like that. That would be foolish because it's in his best interest to drive up the price. Okay, and if he's going to give you inside intel on some other offers, it's not only foolish, but he could prevent himself from getting more money. In any case, so back. I'm sorry to have a preaching moment there. Let's get back to the subject. So you've been notified there's a multiple offer. Here's a couple options you can take. Okay, and you should write this down or listen to it again tomorrow. First one is this. There's a number of them here. There's no particular order. Did you know that your buyer can offer to pay all the transfer taxes on the property? Now, when you do that, typically when you use this tactic, if you think about it, that could be a couple $1,000s, and maybe your client doesn't want to go up that far. So what you do is you lower the price to account for the buyer paying all of the transfer tax for both parties, both seller and buyer. So you lower the price accordingly, okay? The benefit is, and you might adjust it slightly so that it looks like it's more money net to the listing bank, to the selling bank, but not much. The benefit is to them, they have a cleaner, neater HUD sheet. Okay, they love net deals. You know, they don't want to get in, they don't want to be involved with this transaction anymore. They don't want to be involved with the property anymore. And if you can use that as a negotiating tactic, you know, lower the price and offer to pay transfer taxes, you can adjust it so that the net is slightly more to them. And the benefit to your client is this. Number one, they might get the deal. Well, number two is now they get that as a tax write-off that year. It's an expense they can take that year, okay, paying transfer taxes. So even though it may have cost them, let's say they agree to take on an additional $5,000 in transfer tax, and the tax benefit to them is they get to keep $1,500 without paying tax on it because they're in a 30% bracket. All right. So the bottom line is this: maybe you lower the price and offer to pay transfer tax such that it's a net increase in price to your client of $1,500. Well, he just offset it. He or she offsetted that at tax time because he gets to write that off as an expense. Makes no difference to the seller. Their net's still the same. Remember, they're going to pay capital gains, whatever the case is. The net's still the same to them. All right. They only pay capital gains on what the net is. So, in any case, that's one tactic. Some of you may have seen that before. Most people haven't. And guess what? You can do the same thing with commissions. You can say, you know what? The buyer's going to pay not only the buyer side commission, but the selling side commission too. The buyer's going to pay all commission on this deal. And then you do the same thing. You adjust the price so that the net effect is to the seller. Maybe you went up a slight bit but more importantly, um, the seller does no longer have to pay the commission. So they like that. It's more of a net deal. And then to your client, they get to write that off as an expense. Okay. They can claim yes, I paid all the commission, and they get to write that off. And so they get, whatever the tax bracket is, that's the benefit to them. Okay. Two really creative ways to adjust price. Sorry, I'm not sure where my computer is there. Hope that's not going to be an issue. In any case, a third one is this, and this is where you get into just good old-fashioned hard dollars. You can actually raise the amount of your hand money. So let's say you're making $100,000 or a $90,000 offer on a $100,000 property, and you're at highest and best, or you can even use this, by the way. All these techniques, by the way, you can use even if there's not highest and best. I just want to bring this up to your attention so you know that there's options for you in highest and best scenarios, not just dealing with the price. Okay, so raise the hand money. Yeah, all right. In fact, I've raised hand money sometimes up to 50% of the offer. So in other words, on a $100,000 purchase, I might put down $50,000 in escrow in earnest money deposit. You might be thinking, boy, that sure is risky, and I wouldn't recommend it for brand new investors, but I would suggest it for seasoned veteran investors who've been around the block a few times and are comfortable with the property they're making an offer on. They wouldn't be making the offer if they weren't comfortable, with that property. What that looks to the seller is that's a lot less risky proposition, okay, because nobody's going to walk away from $50,000 being held in earnest money. And number two is it shows sincerity. You're definitely going to follow through, all those factors. And it may allow you to keep the price low by reducing risk to the seller. Okay. I bought a handful of properties myself personally where I put literally 100% of all the funds in the hand money check, in the earnest money check. All right. Now, if you play your cards right, you're not going to be doing that, all the time. Number one. Number two is you only do what's necessary, obviously. But number two is, you get to be more comfortable as you become more experienced, and the risk to you is really minimal because most basic contracts are neutral contracts. So if something does fall through, that's no fault of your own, you're going to get your money back. Okay. So in any case, raising the hand money, you go up as your client may just want to go to 10% hand money to 20% hand money or 5 to 10%, whatever the case is. But remember, don't be afraid. If you've got a good investor that you've been working with for a while, get aggressive. Go to 50%. Go to 100%. Okay. Now here's another tactic that people use. I see it all the time, and it's not very creative, and it may actually work sometimes. But I'm going to give you a little twist on how to really make it work. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients say, "Fine, just go to full price. Go to list price and make the offer on list price." So we go to make the offer on list price. Lo and behold, two of the other three bidders also had the same very uncreative idea. Just go to list price. So here's what you do. Assuming you got this, that means you're automatically in a second round, possibly a third round. All right, so here's what you can do. Instead of going to just 100,000, go to 101,000. Okay. Now, again, you've eliminated a lot of a competition by adding an extra 1,000. But here's where it really gets good. There are other agents out there who are just as smart as we are, and they may have the same idea. Hey, why don't we go to list price plus 1,000? So here's what you do. Always add some oddball figure at the end. $159, $153, $137. Always make it an odd figure. That's what I mean by odd. Not that it's strange. Odd as in the digits are odd digits, not even digits. Okay, for some reason psychologically, numbers with odd digits have more of an impact on the receiver. So in other words, you would make the offer $137. You could even go $351, whatever you want to do. And by the way, the first digit can be an even number, but the last digit should always be odd. So you can say $101,253. All right, so you can do that. The bottom line is this: what we know is, from what we're being told statistically, it increases the odds of your client's offer being accepted by about 50% within the highest and best scenario. Okay, just within that scenario, odds increase by about 50%. The selling bank doesn't really care. They kind of laugh at it maybe, and they'll say, "Hey, we got an extra $253 out of this. because all they're doing is they're checking off boxes and filling in a form. And if that number, whatever who has the highest number gets the property, it could be $1. All right. And I actually had a scenario one time where I had my client use this technique, and we just went up $100. And lo and behold, he bought it, he fixed it up. He goes to flip it. Of course, I'm the listing agent because I sell all my clients flips, the ones who flip. A neighbor came down as soon as we put the sign in the yard, a neighbor came down the street saying, "Hey, I just want to tell you guys, I really respect you. You beat my offer by only $100. I was going to buy this house and in my own neighborhood and fix it up and sell it, and you guys came along and it only cost you $100 extra." And my client laughed, and I kind of got my mouth shut because I'm thinking this guy could eventually be a client of mine. I didn't want to embarrass him. But the guys had a nice chat. It was a friendly exchange, but it was the first time I ever I had a hands-on experience where somebody came up and said, "I'm the guy you beat." Typically, I'll hear it from the listing agent. After closing, I'll say, "Hey, now that it's closed, can you tell me, how did we do? How did we leave money on the table? What was the other offers?" Usually they'll say they wouldn't call back, but sometimes I've had people call back and say, "You know what? It was that extra kicker you put in there because we had another guy go up at $1,000, but you added another 159, and that was what got your guy the property." So that's what I'm telling you guys. Write that down and remember it. It is an awesome technique to make sure your offers get accepted in multiple offer scenarios. Okay, you've already gone through all the hard work. Why not go one extra round? Take this extra measure, this extra step, and see if it doesn't get your guy the property they want. And you look like a real hero, because I can tell you, most other agents do not think of this stuff. And this is just stuff we developed over the years. So, in any case, let's see if there's anything else here. Okay, nice surprises. Or show of hands in your question box. Let me know your answer. I have on my desktop computer down in Virginia. It's in storage right now. When I was actively engaged with all the asset managers, I've got an entire database, a whole sheet full of these asset managers. The asset managers are the guys who work for the banks. They get the properties to deal with, to sell, and they contract with the agents to sell them. I've got all that bank information, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, names, all that kind of stuff. I don't need it anymore. I don't want it anymore. It's probably, a year or two old by now, but if you guys would like to have that, please let me know, and it'll probably be Easter before I get back there, but I'll get it for you. I'll get the computer set up and send myself an email or put it on a disk or put it on a flash drive or whatever, and make sure we get it to you guys. So if you're interested in that, if you have a real strong interest in dealing with these asset managers directly, let me know. And I'll tell you this, I've had scenarios where I was making an offer on a property. Here's a good example. It was listed with another realtor, and an asset manager had it. It was like whatever it was, Bank of America. They contracted with the asset manager, who in turn contracts with the realtor. The day the listing was expiring, I made the offer. And the next day I'm calling, and the listing agent said, "It expired the same day. We're just not dealing with it." I said, "Fine." I called the asset manager because I looked them up online, called them directly, and the lady said, she said, "This is the most amazing thing. I was just getting ready to assign this to another realtor. Do you really have a bona fide offer?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, it's right here. I'll send it to you right now." I sent the offer in, she accepted on the spot, and my client got the property they wanted, and all it took me was one phone call. Okay, one phone call, where most other agents would have walked away saying, "Screw that thing. I've got to wait 3 more months before it gets listed again," because it takes a long time for properties to get turned around when they change listing agents. So don't be afraid, guys. I just heard last night I got to watch Robert Herjavec speak. He's the guy that's on Shark Tank, and if you're in Canada, he's on Dragon's Den. So he came to speak to my group last night. Got to meet him, shake his hand, and he said, one of the biggest things he learned in life is to ask. Do not be afraid to ask. The worst going to happen is you get the no answer. But you're no worse off than you were before you asked the question, right? Because whatever it is you asked for, if you didn't get it, you're just where you were before. But the good news is you might actually get a yes on the deal. So don't ever be afraid to ask. So in any case, I will send that to you. Hopefully, maybe I'll look for a reminder from you guys, maybe mid-March or the week I'll be home, the week of Easter. All right. Let's see. What else can I tell you? Let's do this. Let me go over here. I want to show you one more thing. I got a few things to show you. Hang on, guys. There's a couple other quick tidbits here. I want you guys to write these down. Write this website down, referenceusa.com. Okay. It's a great way to get more information on whatever areas you're looking in. It's through your library system. All right. And you can get up to typically, I think it's 250. You can do searches and get lists that have 250 entries for free. Okay. And after that, you've got to start paying for it. But let's face it, if you're looking for dentists in, let's see, Snellville, Georgia, which is where it was last Thursday, or just dentists in the excuse me, in the county up there, excuse me, where Atlanta, that have had their license between 3 and 5 years, you probably get around 250, and you don't have to pay for it. Okay, you can do this on Reference USA. You can go any local library; they'll have this. It involves the entire library system, and all you need is your library card. Just get your library card to get started. Okay, that's Reference USA. All right, so let's click on another one here. This is called Hoovers. Okay, and Hoovers is another little surprise here for you. Let me drag my panel over so it's fully exposed. Hoovers is a service that does cost a small chunk of change. For $6,000 a year, you have access to Hoovers, and Hoovers will build a list, any list you want, whatever your chiropractors who bought Mercedes-Benz last year between $50,000 and $75,000. Whatever, you get as creative as you want. Chiropractors who got divorced 3 years, whatever it is. But here's what we think we have worked out with these folks, and this is right now. This is a heads up. It's not we don't have this in writing yet. It looks like we have an agreement where I can pay $6,000 for this access and provide it to you guys because you're considered private clients. I'm not putting this out there to the public on the internet. I'm going to be getting it to you guys directly, and you won't have to pay for it. It's just part of your membership. So remember, you guys are all members automatically as a result of going through the training program. So what we're looking at is it's possibly by May, that's what we're thinking, we can have this built online. You guys as members with your login and password, go log in, key in whatever it is you want to get, and we'll give you the list for free as a result of your membership. So you can get company reports, all kinds of cool stuff from that Hoover. So remember that. I wanted to share that with you now because that's recent information. All right. Let's see. There's another one here. I don't know if you're going to be interested in this or not. It's well, that looks strange. Let me hit the return key again. Okay, this is called JM Internet. This was a guy out in the West Coast. Oh, this is one of his marketing screens. Get free stuff, SEO toolbook, social media toolbook. So for those of you who really are interested in search engine optimization for your websites and social media, using social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, at least go here and get the free books. All right, free toolbook, free toolbook. Many of you have met or heard Seth Green, and some of you actually are using him in your services. But if you wanted to learn more yourself, do this. Just get the information. It's free. Okay. That was the other thing I wanted to show you. So in any case, guys, that is it for tonight. Let me slide my panel back over and look and see if I'm caught up on questions. Let's see. Oh, this is everybody saying yes. So I want that list of asset managers. Well, good. Scott says, please tell Rock I said hello. I will, Scott. I'll be down there in about, actually, I should be there in 1 minute, so I've got to get running here. So for everybody here, I really appreciate you being online, participating. I will see you all next week on the webinar, which is going to be, let's see, the 10th of February, and I will be back in Florida. I'll be in Seminole, Florida, which is in the Tampa area, so I'll be on East Coast time again. And I don't have the subject lined up for next week. If you guys want to talk about anything in particular, like this is all a result of Margaret Tesla up in Massachusetts. So tell me what you want to talk about. Tell me what you want to learn, and we'll dig into any subject you want. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll revert to the training material in the order that's delivered to you, but it's not going to be at the same pace, the same time, because some of you are in Module 5, some of you are in Module 3, some are Module 1. And I like to know what you're needing, because it tells me how I can best serve you. So remember that. Let me know, preferably by the end of the week, so I have time to prepare for it, and I will share with you whatever I've got next week. So thank you, Lana, for your comment. I appreciate that, and God bless you all, by the way, and have a wonderful rest of the week, and we will see you next week. Marina just typed in something. Please forward list of towns you think worth investing. So that must be, I did that in Massachusetts, Marina. That came out back in the summertime. I wonder if Margaret has that list. Let me see if I can find it. I actually put it online and we sent it out with the webinar. So listen back, go onto the catalog of webinars, Marina, and look for that subject. It'll be back around end of July, I believe, sometime in July. If not, I'll have to retrieve that. There were 13 towns I found in Massachusetts that were ideal for investing in rentals. Boy, I wish I could think of where the heck that was. But in any case, look online first, Marina, and just shoot me a text message, email, or phone call. And no matter what, we'll make sure we get it for you. Okay, let's see. Jamie says, just got here. How about in Orlando? Sir Jamie, you're talking about places, the best places to invest in Orlando? Peter has the list. Hey, Peter, if you could email that to me, what I'll do is I'll have Beverly send it out to the group. And then, Jamie, I'm assuming you're asking about the list for Orlando. I have to do the research because I haven't done it. Yeah, towns for rentals in Orlando. I've done some spot checking in Orlando, Jamie, but I need to do some more thorough research. And I will see if I can get to that. Probably it might be, maybe next week, because actually we'll be in Tampa. It helps. Actually, Jamie, I tell you what, if you could text me a good time for you and I to talk, because I'm going to have you help me on that. I will likely need access to your MLS, and I don't have that in Florida yet. That is, so if you could set me up on a search, I'll discuss that with you off the webinar here. It'll help me determine. Actually, I will show you what I'm doing. Matter of fact, I'll walk it through with you. How's that? So, okay. All right, guys. You guys have an awesome night, and we will see you next week. God bless you. Bye-bye.